Yeah, now it's okay. Now we're live. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 86. And I think I got this right this time because the last three I've been one off. I fixed it everywhere else except the live broadcast because I'm not going to dub myself for the one number. Even though now we're allowed episodic content because of the patent dispute, I still don't want to do it. Anyway, we got a couple quick stories just to get through. And then we got the big one, which involves clearly somebody hijacking a car and doing whatever they want with it. So let's first say hi to Tom.
Hey, everyone.
And let's just start off with, if you haven't patched your Windows system, do it now. Stop the show. Stop. We'll still be here. Update your machine.
We'll be here.
Restart it. It needs a restart. Do it. It's an out of cycle. It's not this. Last week was the second Tuesday. Now it's the third Tuesday. So it's not even a random fourth Tuesday that they have. It's a third Tuesday. And I think Tom has the better details. But this was a hacking team exploit with Adobe.
Yes. So, of course, if you haven't updated Flash, do it now. Go now, right now. Update it, and then get back to us. We'll be here, and you can always download the podcast later and catch us on YouTube and everything else. So, 3 really nasty Flash vulnerabilities, thanks to the hacking team crack. So a Java 0 day was also found. That is patched, so update your Java, or better yet, remove Java completely from your computer. You don't need it to play Minecraft on Windows anymore. This Microsoft out-of-cycle patch is actually, it covers... Again, an Adobe product, but loaded into Windows by default. The Windows Adobe Type Manager library, it's used for rendering OpenType fonts. It's one of the core Windows font rendering libraries. Deep in the kernel stuff, really hard to, really nasty vulnerability. Remote code execution, this is pretty much a high-level severity. Get out there, get your patches, reboot your box. It'll all be okay. So make sure to do your patches and keep up to date. So lots of good stuff, lots of good holes getting closed thanks to the hacking team break-in. Lots of more, just upping our security on various systems.
Well, remember, I don't know if we've ever said this on the show. Microsoft issues a patch every second Tuesday of the month. So you may not get it on Tuesday, you may get it on Wednesday, but that is the default. That is, hey, here's system admins. It's make sure you get the tests a couple days early, make sure everything works with your system, and then push it out or don't push it out. But it's not just randomly to say so people can randomly patch their systems. It's systematic. It's every month, and usually even the most extreme patches are released on that second Tuesday. It is it's every once in a while, and I think in the last 4 or 5 years, it's happened 3 or 4 times where they issued a fourth Tuesday of the month for something. But like I was saying, this is the third Tuesday. And they've never done that, which means, you know what? I think it's really important to do, and you should stop whatever you're doing. Do it now. Give it an excuse. It's dinner time. Well, for us, it's dinner time. But whenever you're listening to this, as soon as you can, go do it. Even at work, figure it out. You don't want to be compromised because apparently it is being actively exploited.
Right, it is out in the wild right now. Microsoft very rarely goes outside of their Patch Tuesday stuff. They've really got to have a reason to do it. This vulnerability is bad enough. Not end of the world bad enough, but definitely high on the exploitability list. Kind of bad enough that they want to patch it and patch it now. It can't wait. It can't wait a couple weeks. There's simply no way.
And while you're at it, because we're still looking at hacker team documents, check your other programs. We talked about Firefox last week. Chrome automatically updates. But if you didn't do a restart of your computer, you know what? Check all your mission critical programs. Run any sort of updates on all the programs you generally use, and spend another hour or two tonight working on it. And you know what? You'll be safe tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything else left on that. I mean, it was just update your systems, exploit in the wild. Let's go.
Yep.
Anything else on that?
I think for that one, that's
Okay.
about it.
So the second quick topic is, and just bear with us a few minutes, is Ashley on Sunday night or Monday night. Uh, it was reported that Ashley Madison and Established Mail, which I've never heard of, they were hacked, but the data was being withheld. So if you don't know, Ashley Madison is a website to match people who want to have affairs. So if you're married or whatever it is you want an affair, apparently that's where you go to, and they've been successful. They advertise everywhere, and you know what? It's a great country that allows it. So I don't want to necessarily judge on that, but they were hacked. And the key issue there is I think that the hackers basically said, you need to shut down the sites or we're going to release all this information. The problem is that they're not going to shut down the site. So whenever they decide to release the information, this information is going out. And if you're using the site, you're going to have a bad day.
Right.
Especially if your significant other finds out. So there's not really much to it other than just be aware that if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, you should really be thinking about what happens if the site gets hacked, because it will get hacked. It's not a matter of, I mean, they say discreet, they say all these things. They even had a service for $20. They will wipe everything from their servers, which was apparently found to not work and then work, and now we don't know. So until people really try and figure it out, until the data is actually released and people can pound on it, your information, if you were using that site, is probably going to be released.
Right. So a lot of people, tech sites, forums, a lot of people have started blaming the users for using a site that they deem to be immoral or wrong or just plain shady. And, you know, while that may or may not be the case, depending on your point of view, I know how I personally feel about it. It doesn't change the fact that people have signed up for a website and they expect that their information will be protected. Right? It doesn't change the fact that the hackers that broke into this place, they're basically committing extortion. That's entirely what this is. It's no different. It's not, what we would judge to be a public service like the hacking team breach. This doesn't really. I can't see how this is really good for anyone. I guess it could be good for the spouses who are affected, so they know in some sort of weird, twisted way. But I don't know. The whole thing, it doesn't feel right. So I'm not going to go into user blaming. I don't think that's the right way to do it. But really, if you're running a site with a high risk profile, with something that you're carefully guarding information for your users for one reason or another, right or wrong, you need to go through extra steps to protect yourself, to protect your users especially. Right? Make sure the stuff in your database is encrypted, make sure it's really hard to get to. Holes happen, hacks happen, you can't protect against everything. But I really do think that what this person or group is doing with extorting the site and saying shut down, or we will destroy the lives of your user base, that's wrong. That's just morally reprehensible.
And if you're a website, here's the thing. We keep on talking about security is a thing that costs a lot of money, but you never see a benefit for. I have a feeling if you're using sites that you don't want people to know of, you're looking into the security. You may not know what the lock means at the top, but somewhere you're looking around for some sort of assurance that your data is kept secure. And I think if you were told that you need to pay more money to make sure of that, you would absolutely do it. That's what it's. And
Right.
and I did read an article yesterday that showed how actually a good way they actually did. Ashley Madison did something good. So normally when you forget your password, you click on forget password. It shows you a box that says enter an email address, and then it will send it to you. What Ashley Madison did is exactly the same thing. Enter your email address. Now, if it says once you click submit, if we find the email address in the database, we will then proceed to email you directions on how to reset it. So the good part there is the hackers who have this list, and this is trivial to do, is write a generated script that takes every email and highlights the positive ones because it's going to tell you if it's positive or negative. Ashley Madison took the next step and said, if it's found. So the hackers won't know if they're major, not the hackers that hacked Ashley Madison, but just a general email list that's been leaked in the past, won't find the hackers won't find out if those are legit email addresses. Basically,
Right.
if you find a huge email database list of, let's say, every Facebook user, or how about they hack Disney or LinkedIn or Match or whatever, and you test those out, and then you send an email to those, or you publish, hey, check these emails. These emails have lists or are so affiliated with Ashley Madison. That would be bad. Here we go,
Right.
and just the verification that it exists means that you had an account or you had some sort of registration information, and that's enough to really mess up your life.
Yeah, it's been known for a little bit in web development, although we keep seeing these mistakes over and over again. Ashley Madison implemented their forgot password function correctly, where some websites will say, when you put in an email address they don't have, they'll say, oh, well, we don't have that email address. That doesn't exist here. So you can try another one, and it says, oh, yeah, that's correct. We've sent that password to your email address. That's the wrong way to do it, because now you can get people just trying out random email addresses or trying to target someone's email accounts to see if they've got a user account on that system. The proper way, the way they did it, is to say, oh, well, if we find it, we'll send the email. If not, you're not going to know about it. And that way you can't confirm whether or not someone's got an account on that machine or on that system.
I mean, the problem with that is not necessarily with this implementation, but in general, people want to know if they typed it in correctly. So most people would actually want it to say, "Hey, okay, we've sent you something." In Ashley Madison's case, I would think that people would say, "This is an issue, and we're actually happy that it happened that way."
Right.
Now, what they did, what they encrypted their passwords and salted them and did all that, we don't know. And
We
I
probably
was
won't
joking
know
with Tom
unless the
beforehand.
data gets
I do not
leaked.
want to go. I do not want to go to ashleymadison.com right now because I don't want any sort of anything coming back to me, whether it be my Google history or somebody or something. So I'm going to let the experts deal with it, and I'll just armchair quarterback it from there.
Yeah, it's I know that doing research into this, especially if the data's not out, isn't really. There's not a lot to be gained from it. The thing to be gained and the thing that we can talk about are the ethical and moral conversations around this, right? We love to cheer on hacktivists and people that go after the things we don't like and the things we hate, like Hacking Team, who's trying to make us unsafe, who's helping horrible governments do awful things to their people and squash free speech wherever they see it, right? We cheer those guys on, but when they attack something that it still is morally wrong, but it's done in a really shallow, kind of bad way. How do we approach this, right? What do we say about this? It's kind of nice to have the conversation around this topic for a change instead of it being black and white, because this is a very gray situation, right? You've got a site that is enabling people to have extramarital affairs, and you've got a hacker or a group of hackers threatening, saying, hey, you have to shut this down or we're going to ruin the lives of your users, maybe making the lives of the spouses better or worse, or it'll have some sort of effect. So it's a really kind of nebulous, gray, not really on the side of right, not really on the side of wrong. It's more chaotic neutral if it's going to be anything.
And look, I don't want to tell you how to skirt the rules of morality, but if you're checking out sites like Addison or doing something you shouldn't, maybe you should think about your own personal security and say, you know what, maybe I will come up with a fake email address, and maybe I will have a different name, and I'll have a different address or something else, or figure out what you need. Maybe have a separate credit card. I don't know, but if you're putting in your work email, if you're putting in your work email, I don't want to blame the victim here, but it's some sort of thought should be involved in it.
Some user education would be required.
Like a podcast that lasts for 30 minutes on security that shows once a week.
If only we knew people that had that.
Anyway, let's go to our main story. So we didn't want to bury the lead. We wanted to get you to listen to the fact that you should update. So Charlie Miller is at it again, and this piqued Tom's interest. I was mildly interested, but I figured this was just a natural progression. Charlie Miller, and if you don't remember who he is, he was the first person to jailbreak an iPhone. He was hired by Apple, dropped from Apple, hired by Twitter, dropped from Twitter. Either way, he found a way to completely remotely hijack a car.
Yeah, and this, so he's done some work, and a couple years back, he plugged into the ODB2 port, right, the diagnostic port of a car, and was able to disrupt some functions of the car that you'd really hope couldn't be disrupted, right? As far as accelerator, engine controls, braking controls, including disabling the brakes. But everyone kind of wrote it off because they said, well, someone's got to plug like a device into my car and hook it to a laptop and issue arcane commands to take over my car. That's not really a threat. I mean, yes, it's a security vulnerability, but we're not really worried about it. I mean, they've got to break into my car. This is the thing that we've got to worry about. This is a thing that security researchers have been predicting and yelling about, and this guy did prove it, and actually in kind of a controversial way in some ways. So this is tested on Fiat Chrysler automobiles, anything with the Uconnect software. So if your car uses Uconnect, please go to fcanorthamerica.com. We'll include the link in the show notes, but there's actually a software patch that you will load onto a USB stick and load into your car to patch it. So not only should you update Flash and Java and Windows and now your car, you should really update everything forever. Cars are becoming so computerized right now with standard software builds that security holes will get more common. And there's actually, well, I guess we'll get to that in the story, but this is cool.
The good part was is that they were disclosing this to Chrysler the entire time. That's what, at least reading from the Wired article, they were talking about it all the time. But just like anything else, I got a recall for my old Chevy Cobalt for years and years and years. And the story went is I heard about it, and I was already at the dealership for something that I needed to have happen. And I told them about it, and they said, you'll do it when you get the letter. And I got mixed. You know what? I'm not doing this. For years and years and years and years, I think 3 years later, I finally went in and did it. And that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping that people are, who thinks of updating their car? It doesn't happen. Going to the dealership, I'm busy today. How am I going to get there before 4 o'clock? This is going to take an hour. And you end up not doing it. I'm too busy in my life to get this done. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
So
luckily enough,
so at least with Chrysler, they're aware of it. I'll go with Tom.
Right. I'm lucky enough to go to a mechanic that when I get my oil changed, they actually look up the manufacturer's updates, software package updates, and I've gotten updates in my car before, and the only reason I know is because every time they update the software, it wipes out my favorite radio stations. I've got to reprogram them. Kind of annoying, but I like having new software, so I'll deal with it. But, okay, these hacks are fantastic. First of all, they use the Sprint network. Every car has got like a cell phone telephony system built into it using the Sprint network as their backbone. They can generate Wi-Fi hotspots, they can download updates, they can pull media from the internet. There's a lot of cool stuff that they can do. One thing, apparently, that you can do is use a Sprint cell phone and reach out and touch any of these cars on the public internet. and I apologize. I have alarms going off. Bear with me for a moment. So you
Well,
can
I was, go ahead,
go
Tom.
ahead.
Oh,
You
I'm just
can
trying to kill some time in there. Basically saying that as I'm reading this article, it's they were working with Chrysler, but again, it goes back to the issue of, and you're going to explain this in a second, how this was done, where why are these systems interfacing with each other? And it's simple. People want to know all these things, and they want the internet. They want this. They want to be able to communicate. But if you're going to allow that, you're going to allow the bad guys to come in.
right. So you can secure these systems if you design them correctly. Unfortunately, it wasn't in this case. So what happened? How they did it is they could use a Sprint phone hooked to a laptop and use the Sprint network to go out and spider the internet, searching for these vehicles. And they can touch directly on the internet each of these vehicles. They can issue a command resulting in some sort of exploit. They have not released the exploit code yet. It will be released shortly. But they can issue an exploit package, I guess, and then gain access to the entire car system, the car computer system, the CAN bus, as they call it, where you can talk to the engine, you can talk to the brakes, you can figure out how hot the engine is running if you wanted to. It's great stuff for diagnostics. Bad stuff when you can actually issue commands to the equipment and get it to listen to you. The author of the Wired article said they disabled the brakes, they killed the transmission, they changed the station on the radio, they put a picture of themselves on the car's media dashboard. I mean, this is as high level as you can get. Someone can, on the internet, disable your car's brakes as you're driving down the highway. If that's not a zero-day exploit, I don't know what is.
And well, with all that said, remember there was a 60 Minutes article or a piece, I don't know, back in November, where they started with this techno panic that, oh, your car is the next thing that's going to be hacked. But they showed this person hacking a car that was sitting in the car that worked for 10 or 15 minutes by plugging something into the ODB2 port and hooking up to a laptop. And like you said, if something like that was going to happen, you see this new device sticking from your left knee, you're going to say, hey, what's going on? And you're going to think about it. But here it is. And from the article, when they initiated the Wi-Fi connection, okay, Wi-Fi, 350 feet radius. That means you're going to see somebody acting suspicious. But no, now this is completely remote from couch, and this is a bad thing.
Yeah,
this is scary.
This is directly on the internet. This isn't someone within view or within even a couple miles of your car. These guys were hitting cars all across the country, not exploiting them, but scanning for them, scanning for vulnerable vehicles, and they found tons of them. Let me. Oh, I wish I had the
471,000.
There we go.
471,000 cars.
Yep.
And you have to remember, Chrysler is not just the minivan. It's Chrysler, it's Fiat, it's Jeep, it's Dodge, and if it goes into the Mercedes-Benz categories, Mercedes, it's a lot.
Yeah.
The Dodge Ram, the trucks, it's a lot of American cars.
So we're talking nearly 500,000 vehicles on the road are now security targets. And I mean, just like you said, with the updates, with the recalls, people aren't going to get this fixed. People don't know what that means. People don't really care. This is ridiculous. And the great thing is, so what came about on Twitter is the guy said, hey, look, public disclosure works. I've been talking to these guys for months and months and months about this issue, and nothing happened until the Wired article broke and mentioned that I was going to be releasing this at the Black Hat conference. Not the full exploit. They're still keeping the exploit code where you can actually control the car, but being able to reach out and touch the car, to be able to see if the car is hackable, not actually do anything to it, Yeah, that piece is going to be public here in a couple months.
Not a couple months, it's almost 2 weeks.
Oh, is it? Oh, wow. Hey, cool. Let's get ourselves some
Because
Sprint phones and we'll go car hunting.
remember, I mean, it's DEF CON is the baby of Black Hat, and
Yes.
DEF CON's in 3 weeks now, less than 3 weeks. So yeah,
Now,
this is soon, and well, yeah.
some people have taken issue with how they tested it. So they did test it on the author of the Wired article, Andy Greenberg. He was actually driving on the edge of downtown St. Louis on the highway when they started hacking his car, including disabling the transmission. So his car just didn't go anywhere and slowed to a crawl on an on-ramp without a shoulder, and people were honking at him. And I have to admit, yeah, it's not really a safe thing to test this on live roads. They did do the disabling brake test later in an empty parking lot. I don't think they should have tested this on a road, but it makes the piece hit home. I wouldn't have done it that way, but I'm glad no one got hurt. I do think it was kind of irresponsible.
Look, I have nothing else. I mean, I don't have much to say other than this is really scary because now it's close to home. We're going to see an exploit, and it's not a physical access piece. It's a remote wireless execution. And it's scary to know that car manufacturers over the years have made anything about updating their car so difficult that they want you to take it to the dealer to the point that people resent that and they don't. Most cars now, it's almost impossible to change. You can't see the engine block. You can't change the spark plugs. My car, I was always told Toyota had every little piece imaginable that you can OEM. And the one thing I want to change the radio to get full actual Bluetooth in it, not just the phone, I can't do. So the only thing I can probably do in my car is change the oil. And that's scary. And to take it to the dealership, you know what? I don't want to go to the dealership. The dealership is just going to $120 diagnostic fee, and then, oh, you need this and you need that. You're going to walk out with $1,000 worth of stuff. You came in to get your Uconnect fix because somebody can remotely access it.
Right. This is the same exact thing we saw with the hacks of United Airlines. Well, not really the hack of the airline, but the hack of the aircraft itself, where the entertainment systems and the actual mechanical vehicle systems are not physically separated, right? In this case, it doesn't even look like they're really logically separated, at least not well enough. Why on earth you would take these two completely different systems, merge them together, and then connect them to the internet is beyond me as someone who enjoys reading about security topics. But I really think that the permanent fix to this is not there is a bill that mandates some security overview when it comes to the automotive testing process. It's going to, hit the legal system in the states and work its way through. We'll see what happens there. But it really, the best fix is to take everything else and then your actual vehicle systems, because they have to communicate electronically now, and physically separate them. Do not let them touch. Do not connect them in any way at all. I mean, you can connect them to the same battery, to the same power source, but that's as far as you go. They are not allowed to talk to each other at all. No firewall, no nothing. Physical separation. That would have fixed this issue. That would have fixed United's issue. And frankly, it's not that hard to do.
Well, I mean, they tout their OnStar network, which may be GMC, but some idea where you push a button on your rearview mirror and it calls some sort of call center, and it's like concierge service. It wasn't cheap, but it came a year free when you bought a new car. And they show the commercial, I got into an accident, can you help me? And yes, I see your location, or I see that your airbag's deployed. Is everything okay? And And that hits close because you know what? You get into an accident, and if you are immobile and you want to push that button, but you can. It was good to see that somebody came on. But here's the flip side: that's a system now that's controlled through the internet, through some cellular connection, I guess, with Sprint now, and it can be exploited.
Right.
So
There's ways to make stuff like this and make it safe. It really needs a very careful, cautious hand, and really someone in the automotive design team, in the actual team that puts this stuff together, to say, hey, look, I'm the security guy, and anything that gets put in this car comes through me first. Comes through an audited team, comes through a bunch of eyeballs looking at this, trying to find issues, and more importantly, trying to hack on it, trying to break it, and trying to exploit it. Right? We need to have good guys attacking products before they get on the road or in the air.
And just to leave you with this, because we are over, and not to go into rumors, but maybe all of this, all these stories, is why Apple is hiring people from the automotive industry, not to build a car, but maybe to figure out how all these systems, these embedded systems, work that have to be 100% always working, never crash, and be convenient and be secure. So
It'll be
I don't know
interesting.
that. So anyway, we're over time, so we're going to stop now. Anyway, have a good day, and we will see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.